We're back. Episode 3.
Hey, guys.
We're popping. So speaking of, I'll pop the popcorn.
I'll bring the wine.
It's about to happen.
In his perfect
Very own goal.
is to intoxicate your system.
It's the work week wind down.
With BHD and
Pearls of wisdom.
hello.
So here we go. Episode 3. We're talking about RelationShifts.
Y'all heard it right. She didn't mispronounce it. We did not say relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We said relationships. Right? We shifted up.
Why?
Why?
Mhm. Why RelationShifts instead of relationships?
Because just as seasons change, we must change. Meaning the things that no longer serve us, we have to wrap it up.
Hmm.
We have to put it away. We have to, it's for the betterment of self,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's to protect us for the journey ahead. Hi, Erica, bye.
I have a song. I can hear it. Dragging all them back like that. Okay, but anyway,
I want to do my Milli Vanilli right now.
because I can't remember the rest of it. She put me on the spot.
Basically, we don't want to miss our bus. So we have to shift some of those relations because they will hinder us and block our path. And it is imperative
Mm-hmm.
because, again, it is for our personal, professional development, self-growth, and
And
to prepare us for what God has for us
Mhm.
for this season in our lives.
because when I think back on that, right, relationships, and God allowing us to shift outside of the realm of our level of comfortability. Sometimes we get comfortable in relationships. And I'm not necessarily talking about marital relationships or anything like that, but just relationships, whatever those
general.
dynamics are. Exactly. And
Yep.
sometimes it's healthy for us to part ways, not in a disrespectful way, but in an amicable and healthy way. And it's okay. And it's okay to have shifts in those relationships that we may have had.
Mhm.
I think in one of the episodes, either the first or the last episode, we talked about, I think it might have been the first episode, I had mentioned something about leeches, right?
Yeah.
And how sometimes people are attached to you for nothing more than to drain your life, to suck the blood, because that's what leeches do, right? They suck the blood. I want to talk about it's life draining. And before you know it, you're being pulled on and pulled on and pulled on so much that you don't even realize that you have no battery left. Come on.
Pull it.
You have no
Pull it.
battery left.
Pull it.
As the battery
The Energizer Bunny?
here on the iPad is shifting, is saying low battery mode. And sometimes we find ourselves in low battery mode because the people that are associated with us are leeching off of us and we don't even realize it. We don't even know. So I think it's healthy for us to shift relationships, and it's okay having those relationships and not necessarily be looked at as a negative.
No, and I think too, right, that people sometimes when you elevate or when you're exposed
Mm-hmm.
to different, you want different.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just people may not want to see you flourish.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be the you that they know, or they want you to hang on to the baggage that you have that keep you both connected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's a disservice to you, but it's also a disservice to them.
Right.
And then it's disrespectful when they,
Right.
okay? Because how you want to keep me down in a barrel? Not saying that, down in the barrel.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Like, how do you want me to stay down here and not elevate? Or why do you see that as a jab against you?
Right.
Because I want to do something different, or I want to explore something, or I just don't want to stay in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just disrespectful on anyone's part who
Right.
want to keep you in this stagnation.
Right. 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 And so, I think that it's important for us to recognize our capacity.
Mm.
But sometimes, we hold on to relationships, friendships, etc. And it's not serving us anymore. In fact, it's not serving me as an individual, nor is it serving the other party.
Right.
But we hold on for the sake of, well, we've been friends for 10 years or 5 years, or because there's a longevity there. But as you grow, sometimes we change, just like the
Yep.
seasons change, right?
Yep.
We change, and sometimes the other person or persons don't know how to handle us in our change.
Yep. So true.
And it can be
So true.
frustrating because your level of expectancy has been elevated because you are growing.
Yep.
And, it's no dig towards anyone else, but sometimes if they're not willing to also grow as you're growing,
Yes.
then it can become frustrating.
And it can cause tension in
Absolutely.
the relationship. I
Absolutely.
remember being younger, like 2 years ago. But, I was the first one in my close circle to have a child. And I remember my girls like, oh, here come Nana, or Nana want to come and hang out with us.
Mhm.
They're like, Malika, you're the only one who would make gravy from scratch. You know they got that in a can, right?
Not great.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the recipient of hard
Oh.
labor, right? But I just remember, like, feeling some type of way when they were getting ready to go out and they didn't invite me.
Mm, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I wasn't drinking. No, I could have. I mean, I would probably have a Corona. Okay, full transparency because we grown, right?
Mhm.
I would roll up a doobie in a minute when I was younger. I'm
And
just
you gonna
saying.
have to help me out, girl. What is a doobie?
Did she say that? Okay, so no.
I did.
Okay, so marijuana.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
marijuana.
got it. Noted.
Like so. Let me see. Method Man. Get your white out. Okay, never.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I think you're going too deep, but it's okay.
Yeah, never mind. Right, because I couldn't even remember it because I'm not even supposed
You're
to be
not
saying
supposed
it.
to.
Like, yeah, I'm not
Mm-mm.
supposed to.
Mm-mm.
But anyway, yeah, so like I would smoke weed with my girls,
Okay.
right? Um,
Your friends.
my
Oh,
friends,
okay.
right?
Mhm.
And I would have a Corona every now and then at that point in time, right? But I did see myself doing different because yes, I was domesticated like very early. In fact, I met my husband when I was 15 years old. Had a kid at 17. So life was different,
Mhm.
right? When we moved into our apartment, like I'm responsible for cooking and doing all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And I really didn't have what I can put a term to now, but
Mhm.
I didn't have the capacity to have friends like I used to have friends prior to me
Right.
becoming a mom. And I think when I developed in my mommyhood,
Yeah.
I was changing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was just like, get your old self out of here. Like, you're too young to be that old. You know what I mean?
I know the
But
feeling.
again, it was a shift
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
our relationship. And like, I just say that for me, like they probably didn't even feel that way. They probably was like, Malia ain't coming out anyway. She gonna tell us no. Or
Right.
she gonna tell us, whatever. So we're not even gonna ask her.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? But when she say she cooking and y'all coming over, like, we there.
Uh-huh.
You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? So it's one of those things that I can like totally relate to
Mhm.
from being on the other end of um feeling that yes, I was growing
Right.
at that point of time and
Mhm.
transitioning into my mommyhood.
Right.
Whereas some of the party girl was still in me, but I couldn't fully walk in my party girl shoes.
I know the
You
feeling.
know what I mean?
I know the feeling. Being a teenage mom myself, I had my daughter when I had just turned 18. Um, I understand, wanting to, still be in for me with the in crowd with those in my age demographic. Some of my friends went off to college, others, they were out in the party scene and things like that. But I couldn't do that as a mom. And I
Yeah.
was a single mom. And so the weight of responsibility was completely different for me, because she was all
Yeah.
I was all that she had. And
Mhm.
so, you know, finding babysitters, having to work, I was at one point also collecting welfare to an extent, like food stamps and things like that,
Mhm.
just trying to make ends meet and trying to
Yep.
figure out this life and trying to figure out, what image do I want my daughter to see of me? Do I want my daughter to see the
Right.
party going out? I never was a drinker or smoker or anything like that. But, I did like to hang out,
Mhm.
and my mom, I remember moving back home because I had moved out when I was 18. And then when I was about 19 and a half, I moved back home. And I was hanging out, heavily. My daughter was like 1.5 or so to speak. And I was hanging out heavily with my god sister and some cousins and such, like play cousins, but like
Got you.
cousins and such. And we would go to Miss G's.
No, Miss
We
G.
would go to Miss G's.
Okay, so one of my best friends that I'm talking about, like, because we were friends since we were like in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Her aunt used to be a bartender at Miss.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Now I wonder what her name is, but we'll talk about that later. It's okay.
offline.
Offline. Offline. And so I used to hang out at Miss G's with my god sister. And so that's actually where I met my husband. When I met my husband, I was 21. We met and married in 9 months. Met and married. A whole pregnancy term. We met and married in 9 months. In
It would have
fact, when I
been
walked
birth and
down the aisles,
season.
well, listen, when I walked down the aisle, I was pregnant with my second daughter. Yep, we married on November 13th. She was born December 31st of that same year. Okay.
She said, "I'm not letting the year go out like that."
And listen,
Oh,
that was almost 26 years ago. Okay.
wow.
So, but going back to being a single mom, and I was a single mom for a period of time, it
Mhm.
was, because I had already missed out on so much, I thought I was missing out on more. And so I remember my mom, you know, saying to me, you can go out and hang out all night long if you want to, but this was like Saturday nights, but you're going to church tomorrow morning. And because we had two services at the time, it was the 8 o'clock service,
Uh-huh.
AM, that is, and an 11 a.m. service. And she said, and we going to 8 o'clock service. I felt like she was intentionally making us go to 8 o'clock service on the Saturdays that I would hang out and come in late or early in the morning on Sunday morning. I felt like she intentionally, and it was like, and don't not be in this house and get ready for church. You go out and you better not fall. I'm grown. What you talking about? You better not fall asleep in church. But I bet you I ain't fall asleep in church. I bet you that. I bet you I ain't fall asleep in church. Oh, having to find this balance,
Yeah.
and I had to come to I guess a crossroads or a fork in the road and determine which direction do I really need to go? Which direction do I want to go? What do I want my daughter to see of me? And I have to be the example for my daughter as a single mom. This is well before I even, like I said, got married and had
Yep.
another daughter. I had to be the example that I wanted my daughter to see. If I'm going to tell her how important it is for her to go to college, now that means I got to get myself together.
Yeah.
If I'm going to tell her the importance of education and establishing a foundation for yourself, I gotta. So that means I'm gonna have to cut some people out of my life because there was an expectancy. I was the driver of the crew. There was an
That makes
expectancy
sense.
there,
Yeah.
so I had to shift my relationships um with that crowd from that crowd because there was a goal that I was trying to attain.
Yeah.
There was a path that was carved out for me, and I had to make the choice as to whether or not I was going to walk down that path or keep going down the path that I was going, which was leading to this.
No, that makes sense, right? So with that in mind, like I think about, so I used to fight when I was younger. Like
Mentioned that one time before when we were talking. I just don't see it. But go ahead,
that's like you say,
cause you changed. Praise the Lord.
hallelujah,
Glory.
hallelujah. Right? So I was a fighter. You know, so having a child at an early age like really calmed me down.
Hmm.
I remember being on the bus stop with my daughter. We were on our I don't know where we were going or whatever, but I saw someone who I had tension with like earlier on.
Hmm.
And I think that was one of the shifts, mental
Hmm.
shifts. that I had to make within myself. So when you were saying a relationship or whatever, I started also thinking about the relationship with myself.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
huge.
Because, like you said, it's a fork in the road at a point in time.
Mhm.
What relationship am I going to have with myself in this season of my life?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Am I going to have a caring one, or am I going to have that semi destructive one?
Mhm.
Right? So for me, I had to shift how I thought about me
Mhm.
and
Oh,
how I thought about what that me at that point in time looked
right.
like or
Right.
would look like
Right.
for my daughter.
Right.
Right? Because then I thought too, like, what if that girl be like, you know what? I don't care if she got a kid with her. Protection of the baby.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Mindset shift. The relationship with myself. I had to change my thought pattern. I could
Mhm.
not be a hothead. And granted, I believe at that point in time, like I did calm down because
Mhm.
obviously I'm a mom now. But just having that like epiphany
Yeah.
at that point in time, right? It's like, wow. I
Yeah.
think that was the revelation for me to be who I am. Tiana, it's so funny. My older daughter told me today, because, I told you the whole COVID and I didn't come outside afterwards still or whatever. I don't like going to malls. I'm not going shopping. Like everything that I have, I've had for like eons. Yeah, so
I remember you saying that.
like I ain't going to nobody's anything, right? Um, but Tiana was like, we were just having this conversation, and she was like, "Ma, like you used to have me flower when I was little. Like I'm looking at these pictures. She's like, what happened? Because I was, no, she's saying what happened to me. I'm like, what do you mean what happened to me? I was like, um, yeah, like you don't go shopping or whatever. Like you don't like stuff anymore. And I was like, no. My whole thing was like, I never liked clothes that have the names all over them,
Oh, yeah.
except for now.
Labels. Uh-huh.
Me a high definition, okay? Me AC. Yeah, you want to be a high definition? You could be too. Okay, anyway. But, um, but I'm like, no, like I just didn't like clothes that had names all over them. If my clothes was name brand, like it was on a tag and that's all you knew, but you knew I was together, right? But I said, Tiana, it was different, right? I was a young mom. Like, yes, I'm glad you thought you were fly. I just was putting you together, right? I said, but for me, like, I was doing my thing too. I'm into corporate America. So my style of clothing was all business. It
Yeah.
wasn't the urban wear that you would see in the street. And even when I would go out, like my girls would look at me like, Nana, like, so you going to a business meeting or we about to go to the bar?
Mhm.
And it'd be like, you know what? Like, again, relationship mindset, right? Like, and it's
Mhm.
like, you know what? Like, all right, let me go throw on some jeans and whatever. But then I look underdressed, right? But I started not really feeling comfortable
Mhm.
in certain environments.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Because you will shift,
You
right? Your
definitely.
purview changes
Yeah.
as you continue to grow,
Yeah.
as you continue to develop and allow God to cultivate who He's calling you to be, whether or not we know we're being called
At
at
that
any given phase in our lives or not.
yeah.
There's something that shifts within us that says it it pulls us up out of, I'm gonna liken it to the scripture, um, where it talks about Mephibosheth being in Lodabar and how David had said, "Is there anyone left of Saul's house?" And his grandson Mephibosheth was left in out of Saul's kingdom, if you will. Mephibosheth, his grandson, was alive, and Lodabar was a place that literally the word means no word. So Mephibosheth, having been raised in a kingdom, having all the fine things, was left in a place of desolation. And God saw fit for him to be called up out of a place that had no word, to come to the place that he had for him, right? And so I believe that in those transformative years, God calls us. He already created us in
Yeah.
kingdom. But we find ourselves in Lodabar, in a place of desolation and no word, because life's choices, our own life's choices, right? And sometimes they're not our own. We're inheriting these choices that were made for us, right? And so God is saying, I'm calling you out of a place of desolation and I'm inviting you to come sit at the king's table.
Yeah, 'cause
I've
I'm
got a feast
remembering
for
that
you.
scripture. Yes,
I'm
yes, I
preparing
remember
for
that.
you.
Yep.
And you don't have to live in squalor and desolation and in a place of no word anymore. I've got some greatness in store for you. Are you willing to come? But sometimes we look at our life. Mephibosheth was crippled,
Yep.
right? And we look at our life and our crippling circumstances, and we feel like we don't deserve better. But the fact remains that God is saying for us that I have created you for what I've called you for. It's up to you to answer the call. Mephibosheth could very well have not answered that call to say, it's me, here I am, I'm ready to go. He could have very well stayed in squalor. He could have very well stayed in the place of desolation. The moral of the story is for us, we could have very well stayed in the place of desolation, being teenage moms,
Yeah.
self-loathing, and the could have, would have, should have of our lives because of what we saw our friends do,
Yeah.
right? But taking what we, our experiences, and utilizing them as a catalyst to 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 not only help ourselves, right? Because you talked about that. You have to look within yourself. Not only help ourselves, but after we discover that, the helping of self, then we can help others,
Yeah.
not stay in a place or even get in a place to begin with of despair. So I think our assignment is to do what we're called to do. And you putting out this book, A Bond Unbroken, helps a large community of people who will lay hands and lay hold and lay eyes on this material from a teenage mother's perspective. Without even a college degree, can work in corporate side by side with corporate executives. Be an agent of change, work in finance. That's what God will put on the inside of you. He said, you don't need a degree for what I'm calling you to.
To be obedient.
That's it. And I've already put it on the inside of you. The fact that you're able to write a book, make journals, create workshops to help others is because of you didn't stay in a place of desolation and despair.
Okay, so I'm just over here. She just like weaved all of that together. So if you paid attention to last episode, like this is her lick back. She got her lick back because
No.
yeah, she did. But yes, the big eyes.
Mm,
She's trying to remain
yep.
innocent, like yeah, and not. But yeah, so having those different experiences, and now I guess I just have to like get into this because she made me. She made me do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so definitely putting out um the book would have got you.
I love this woman right here.
Right. Yes. This was part of a relation shift, right? Taking the experiences that I had that I grown up with and just working in corporate America for over 25 years, right? Okay, no, I'm lying. Not over 25 years, over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm in education now, so it's a
Mm-hmm.
little different, right? Although I'm still in finance, I'm still doing
Yes, you are.
finance work.
Right.
But in the beginning, like not having that degree, being the youngest person, having to, you know, find my way
Mm-hmm.
while balancing, motherhood, being a pseudo wife because we weren't married at the time, managing a household, and also getting that balance where I can still do some of the things that I love doing, like giving back,
Mm-hmm.
able to mentor girl groups and put workshops together or participate in workshops and panels and do all of these different things, like definitely help me to shift into the person that I am today and will move forward on to being. I just think that relationships are a part of life
Yeah.
because you shift into different seasons
Yeah.
as life happens and as
And I
you
think
become more
organically
aware
and I think
of other things.
organically people begin to fall off. It happens in an organic way as you grow and as you shift, as you become, you cultivate this who God called you to be. I think people organically, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
Right,
it's
right, right, right.
okay.
It's a life
It
thing,
is.
right? And like, so I'll say this as well, right? When people shift away and it's amicable, you can meet 4, 5, 10 years later,
Mhm.
and there's no bad blood if
No.
it was genuine and you knew
Yeah.
you had to go on your journeys
Yeah.
because I've seen that. I remember one of my good friends when I was younger, she was older than I was. Oh my gosh, like, she had the cars, she would come scoop me, we would chill, hang out, our kids would play together. I wanna say, was it like maybe my 40th, 41st, 42nd? She
Mhm.
just called me up and, my girl, like, she said Malik, like she dropped the A of her name. My name is
Mhm.
Malika. She's like, Malik, what's up? What's going on? Like, you home? All right, I'm coming through. Came and bought me a whole birthday cake. I hadn't
Oh,
seen her in a couple of years.
wow. See?
Birthday cake, miss you, girl.
Mhm.
And it was no love lost. And I
Listen.
remember this particular friend too. I remember, oh my gosh, earlier on, I think after I left, after 15 years or so of being at the insurance company, um, I got downsized or whatever, so I was home and I was doing my jewelry business. It was called Leah Sophia at the time, and I
Mhm.
was selling jewelry. And I'm like, hey, because she knows a lot of people, and I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, we could set this up, we could do this, and she's like, yeah, like that's not my lane. Like, you don't even want to have a party, you don't want to support me. I felt some type of way in the beginning,
Mm.
but it was like, yo, she said no, and it wasn't her, and I can't be mad at that. And we were still friends,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But it's knowing when to accept the no and knowing
Yeah.
why, right? Because that's
Mhm.
another thing, right? If it's not, you're gonna ask somebody to do something, or someone's gonna ask you to do something.
Yeah.